tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
Britain was the only country left standing against Germany.
We shall never surrender!
In July 1940, the map of Europe looked like this. Adolf Hitler, the dictator of Germany, already conquered almost all the surrounding countries. Austria, Poland, Norway, Belgium, Denmark, France, all had been invaded by Hitler. In the south, Italy was ruled by another dictator, Mussolini, who had formed an alliance with Hitler. They were working together. So, broadly speaking, only three major countries were left in Europe: Germany, the Soviet Union, and Britain. Germany and the Soviet Union were in a peace agreement at the time. So, Hitler didn't have to worry about the Soviets attacking. This meant that Britain was the only country still resisting Germany. On the other side of the world, America didn't want to get involved in this war and stayed away. So, the big question is, how did the situation change? How was Hitler ultimately defeated? Let's dive into the complete story of World War II in today's video. In this part, I'll explain how it ended and how Hitler was defeated. The Battle of Britain, Hitler's first major defeat asterisk. Hitler believed Churchill would want to sign a peace treaty now that the German army was so powerful. But the opposite happened. Churchill gave a powerful speech saying there would be no peace with Hitler.
We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender!
The war would continue. So Hitler planned Asterisk Operation Sea Lion, an invasion of the UK. But there was no land connection between the UK and mainland Europe. And the British Navy was too powerful to allow a sea invasion. So Hitler decided to first try to dominate British airspace. Germany's Luftwaffe had 2,600 aircraft. The UK had just 700. On 10 July 1940, Germany launched aerial attacks. Initially, they targeted aircraft, airfields, and factories. Britain's smaller Royal Air Force, RAF, fought back hard. Then, on 24 August 1940, German pilots accidentally bombed London.
It was the Great Fire in the City of London, almost to be compared with the Fire of London in 1666. Pictures that look like hell on earth.
In response, Churchill approved bombing of German cities. On asterisk 15 September 1940, Hitler launched a massive aerial attack. 1,120 aircraft, 620 fighters, and 500 bombers. Despite being outnumbered, the RAF shot down over 60 German aircraft and lost only 29 of their own. This victory is known as Battle of Britain Day. Why did the underdog win? Because defenders fight for survival, invaders for gain. That difference in motivation makes all the difference. This was Hitler's first major defeat in World War II. Operation Barbarossa, Hitler's fatal mistake asterisk. Hitler postponed invading the UK and turned to the Soviet Union. By April 1941, countries like Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria had joined the Axis powers. Hitler had also taken over Yugoslavia and Greece. Though there was a peace treaty with the USSR, Hitler attacked them anyway, driven by hatred for communists and a belief that conquering the USSR would make Germany the world's top superpower. On asterisk 22 June 1941, he launched Operation Barbarossa. German forces split into three. 1 to Leningrad, 2 to Moscow, 3 through Ukraine. The Soviets had 20,000 tanks. Germany had only 6,000, but superior technology.
Mr. Molotov signed for the Soviet this vitally important undertaking on the part of both countries to fight Hitlerite Germany till victory is won. Neither country to negotiate or conclude a separate peace.
The Soviets joined the Allies. A supply route was planned to Iran. But since Iran supported Hitler, the UK and USSR invaded Iran together. Despite resistance, German forces advanced 100 kilometers into Soviet territory in just 2 days and got within 300 kilometers of Moscow. Disagreements between Hitler and his generals delayed the next attack until October. As winter approached, the Soviets gained the upper hand. Troops stationed in the east against Japan were moved west to fight Germany. The U.S. enters the war, a global turning point asterisk. In asterisk December 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, killing over 2,300 Americans.
I have witnessed this morning the distant view, the Battle of Pearl Harbor.
The U.S., which had avoided the war until now, officially entered World War II and declared war on Japan.
I ask that the Congress declare a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
It joined the Allied powers, which included the UK, USSR, and China. Meanwhile, by early 1942, Japan had taken over countries like Thailand and Cambodia. Hitler now targeted the Soviet Union's southern regions to cut off supply chains. A major battle took place in Stalingrad. In the Astros Pacific, the U.S. and Allies defeated Japan in the Battle of Midway in June 1942, destroying 4 major carriers. By the end of 1942, British forces pushed Axis troops out of Egypt. The Battle of Stalingrad dragged on. In November 1942, harsh winter made it difficult for the Germans. Eventually, 300 German troops in Stalingrad were surrounded by Soviets and surrendered in February 1943.
In the Battle of Midway, the Japanese carrier fleet, the mightiest in existence, was utterly destroyed. Japan, at the height of her military power, lost not only a major naval engagement, but in a single day doomed the Japanese Empire to ruin.
This was one of the biggest turning points in the war.
The heroic defense of Stalingrad. The Soviet army turning the Nazi 6-month assault into the most ghastly military disaster in German history. Hands held high, the beaten Nazis pour from house after house in abject surrender.
Italy falls, D-Day lands, Hitler cornered Asterisk. In July 1943, Italians overthrew Mussolini. He was killed by local partisans, civilian fighters. The famous song Bella Ciao originated from this time.
Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao.
The word partigiano means partisan. A new Italian government stopped fighting the Allies. The Allied leaders grew confident that Hitler could be defeated.
Bombastic Mussolini, the sawdust Caesar, comes to his end in the gutter, fitting climax to a life of treachery and double-cross. He led his country to ruin when he threw his lot in with Hitler.
In Asterisk November 1943, Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill met in Tehran to plan the end of the war. On Asterisk 6 June 1944, D-Day, 160,000 Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy, France, and began fighting German forces directly. Now, Germany was being attacked from both the east and west. Hitler ordered troops back from the east to fight in the west, but that allowed the Asterisk Soviets to launch a massive counterattack, regaining 600 km of land in just 2 months. Countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Romania came under Soviet control. Meanwhile, Allied troops liberated countries in Western Europe one by one. Even Yugoslavia drove out German forces on its own. Germany was now under attack from 3 sides.
Another of the great decisive battles of world history has been joined. This is the day for which free people long have waited. This is D-Day.
The fall of Hitler and the end of World War II. In desperation, Hitler launched a final offensive, the Asterisk Battle of the Bulge in the Ardennes forest, but it failed. The Allies bombed German cities intensely. In Asterisk February 1945, the Yalta Conference invited more countries to declare war on Germany. Venezuela, Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Lebanon, Paraguay Asterisk, and others joined in. The final 4 months of the war were the deadliest, with 30,000 people dying daily. Allied forces discovered concentration camps where millions of Jews had been brutally murdered. The bombings destroyed entire cities like Dresden and later raised ethical questions. By then, it was clear Hitler would lose.
Reserves of men and materiel had been hoarded for the day of counterattack. The very much alive German army gathered its forces in the Forest Isles to strike one strong, decisive blow at the American army.
The aerial phase of the West Front offensive mounts to full fury in one single day of colossal attack. This is the greatest Allied air offensive since D-Day.
In May 1945, the Soviets surrounded Berlin. On 30 April, Hitler committed suicide. On May 8th, Germany surrendered. Germany was divided into East and West. A new Poland was formed. European borders were redrawn. Germany and France, former enemies, cooperated to form the European Coal and Steel Community, eventually leading to the European Union in 2000. The United Nations was established in October 1945, followed by IMF, World Bank, and NATO to prevent future global wars. Fun fact, the permanent members of the UN Security Council asterisk were all part of the Allied forces in World War II.
They have made a beginning, a brave beginning that can build a mighty structure for peace. Out of a world of agony and total war has come a charter that must mark a turning point in human history. A new way lies ahead.
Even after Germany surrendered, the war wasn't over. Japan didn't surrender until 2 months later. In July 1945, Japan was given an ultimatum. They ignored it. So the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on asterisk Hiroshima and Nagasaki.